All right, so that's our time to begin. Okay, so welcome everyone out there who may be watching right now. We are here today to talk about and discuss Music in Place, a project with our special guests here. And I'd like to start by introducing our guests. We have Ashley Daneman. She is a musician, singer, entrepreneur, and songwriter. And we have Elizabeth Start, musician and director of Michigan Festival of Sacred Music. So first thing I want to do is introduce this project, but I always forget to introduce myself. So I'm going to do that first. I am Lexie Schroeder Kobb, and I am the question asker today and a board member, an advisory board member of the Michigan Festival of Sacred Music. So this project was modeled after the Michigan Festival of Sacred Music Resonance Music Project. Musicians were asked to write pieces about meaningful locations for them in Kalamazoo. And on the Michigan Festival of Sacred Music website, you can find a playlist of recordings inspired by locations. And you can click through to learn more from links associated with each of those pieces. So
recording in progress.
The beautiful playlist includes 10 area musicians, and it also features a lovely map so you can actually see where the locations are around the city for each of those. Betsy, I was wondering if you had anything else you'd like to add about just a general description of this project and the unique inspiration behind it.
Well, probably one of the inspirations was the success of our Resonance project, just the idea of having something that you can appreciate on location. That project is tied into the Kalamazoo Institute of Arts and their Unveiling American Genius exhibit. Or you can just appreciate it from your computer screen, because all the components are there for you to see. Of course, it's way cooler to see them in real life. I mean, I actually wrote a piece for the KIA exhibit, and to actually hear it when I'm standing next to the sculpture, that's like this, when what I saw was an image like this on the screen when I was writing it, it's a totally different experience. And I think the same thing will be true with the Music in Place. You'll be able to look at images or videos. The musicians were free to represent the location in the way that they felt best represented it. So for some people, it's a single picture. For others, it's a video. Some actually created a music video and integrated their music with the visuals. So there's a wide variety of how this was represented, but that's all there on our website. Plus you get the explanation from the musician as to, how they were inspired, what they did with the music to depict the site or what it meant to them. And you can also, of course, find that location, go there and experience the music right there where it was inspired. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love this project. I love that sense of place in both the virtual world and in person, and how they're combined with this music. It's really unique and special. Can you tell us a little bit about how the musicians were selected for this project?
Well, in some ways that was kind of easy, because we had the Resonance project, and that was such a great cross-section of artistic excellence in this community. And we asked all those people again. Most of them were willing to do another. And then through those artists, we actually found some more. I think the references we had were mainly through the existing artists. And, I mean, I've been a musician in this town for many years, and I found out about people I didn't know were out there. So that's really how they were selected. And when we selected the Resonance project people, we really kind of looked past people that we knew were, had full-time jobs working somewhere in music, like somebody maybe teaching at a university, because we felt maybe who we really wanted to help give a little economic boost to would be somebody who was really suffering from loss of work in the pandemic. So, and that kind of held true as we went forward as well.
That's fantastic. We sure do have a deep bench when it comes to selecting musicians in this area. We're so fortunate. And it's nice to see them collaborating together on a project like this. How often do you get these people in the same space working on the same project? It's pretty special.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to ask Ashley a question here real quick. Ashley, can you tell us a little bit about your style of music, your unique contribution to this project? It is so unique. I enjoy it so much. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. Well, I mean, normally I'm a jazz singer and songwriter, sort of in this jazz folk pop crossover place. And this project was really different for me because usually I create out of my inner world. So to have a commission, both for the KIA project to be inspired by art, and then in this sense, to be inspired by place, for me, that I was going to have a different artistic process for that because I wasn't mining emotion and experience and story from my own self as the primary inspiration. So I would say that my style for this is really just kind of like I would describe it as sort of like an echo, like I'm just sort of amplifying what I'm taking in. So yeah, and for this project with Kleinstuck, which is a nature preserve, I didn't have any preformed intentions, but when I went there, I was just struck. I was like, wow, this place is so musical, just as it is. So I kind of felt like I wanted to respect that and amplify that in a way that celebrated the space. So yeah, I'm inserted in there and my style is there, but it's sort of I haven't talked about my style in a while, so I'm getting a little windy, but there you have it.
I love it. I love that idea of it being an echo of the place. That so sums up this project in so many ways. So for those of you who might be listening to this and don't know about Kleinstuck, it's a really special place. It was actually deeded, the land was deeded to the State School Board of Education for scientific and educational uses back in December of 1922 by Mrs. Caroline Kleinstuck. And it became this gift to the city that has been giving back to Kalamazoo for almost 100 years. We're coming up on that 100-year anniversary. And it is a really special and unique place in the city. Can you tell us about why that place, of all of the places in Kalamazoo, Ashley, why did you choose Kleinstuck?
Sure. Well, Kleinstuck became a big part of my life very suddenly when we did the lockdown for the pandemic last year, because all of a sudden my whole family is home, my 3 kids, and we need to structure the day. And so we're like, well, let's go on a walk and let's try this Kleinstuck place, which is a half mile from my house, but I had never been. So suddenly I'm going to this place, this magical woods, like every single day. And it's the only time that we see other people back then, because pretty much, I mean, I guess if I went to the grocery store, but I was only going to the grocery store like every 2 weeks then. So, it was just so powerful for like a lot of reasons given the scenario.
Yeah, so true. I'm fortunate to be just about a mile from Kleinstuck myself. So perhaps we passed each other masked in the preserve and didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of a place where you run into neighbors, and not in a more comfortable way during the pandemic, I think. It's 48 acres of nature preserve, and these days it's owned and managed by Western Michigan University. And it really does boast itself, as one of the few really wild natural places in the city limits that you can go and explore. It's open to the public, it's free. It's a very special place in Kalamazoo. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to the community of Kalamazoo. During the pandemic, the community of Kalamazoo raised funds to add an additional 12 acres to the adjoining forest property for Kleinstuck, which is just incredible. So just last year, this was added. That property was going up for sale, And it's always been treated like it's part of the preserve, but actually it was not part of the property and it was almost lost. But the city of Kalamazoo really stepped up, fundraised, and bought it for the future. So hopefully 100 years from now, people will still be talking about that gift and what a gift that place is to Kalamazoo. So tell me about your kids' involvement in this project. I think that was a really unique thing that you brought into it.
Yeah, well, it's not unique for me. Meaning that, you know, as an artist who also is a mother, there's always this, I won't say conflict is too strong of a word, but there's they're competing forces. Like, you know, my musical, artistic soul world wants all my attention, and so do my children. And so, I guess it was a way to include them. That was the practicality of me creating in this moment. Was, yeah, they're here because I don't, you know, they're home from school all year and we don't have childcare and blah, blah, blah. So, but it was also a way for me to like stake my claim, like as a mother artist, like this is the scenario under which we create much of the time. And it's not ideal, and it's so frustrating, but it also just is. Like you can only like fight children like that, the force of their needs, like you can only wrestle with it so much because it's so demanding. So I guess I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just for other mother artists out there, maybe it makes sense, like just that whole like wrestling with it. It's just always there.
I think it's a wonderful thing you brought to that project, and probably something a lot of parents can appreciate with how their kids got incorporated into their work lives in new and interesting ways during the past year.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see here. I've got another question for you, Ashley. I was wondering if you could share with us some of your information about this new recording you've done recently called People Are Fragile. Can you tell us more about that project?
Sure. So People Are Fragile is, it's very autobiographical. So I had just, the album before that was called Beauty Indestructible, and it was all about how powerful and how strong I felt and how resilient. And then after that, I had a series of losses, like just boom, 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 like back to back. And it really kind of just like ripped away all of that sense of control and of being strong. And so I was just face to face with a lot of intense grief. And for me, my way to process life is to, make music about it. So that album is all about understanding like my vulnerability in a new way and my fragility just as a human, and of all of the structure of life and our relationships, that they're just so complex. And a lot of times we push grief away because it's so unpleasant. But for me, I really didn't have that option at that point. I just needed to be with the grief in a profound way. And I really wrote a lot of music that did not shy away from that. And I'm very proud of it. And it was very helpful for me as well.
Fantastic. We'll come back to talking more about that in a moment. But before we do, I got a reminder that we have a video to share that is from Kleinstuck. So I'll give Eric the thumbs up on that one. If you could play that for us.
Does it seem like I'm shouting? I'm sorry, the computer's like far away from me.
You're quite audible, but it doesn't seem like.
Of course, yeah. It's okay, honey. Honey, sit. Honey. Sit. Good sit. Good girl. Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
Oh, hey. Good, how are you? Very good. Let's go. Good to see you. Bye. You want to see the turtle?
Yeah.
See? Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
That must have hurt. There he is.
Is he coming out?
No, he's just standing still. I see it. It's out there. See it? You can see its shiny back.
I can't.
Oh,
I still can't see.
okay.
I think taking a walk outdoors opens up my mind to different ideas.
That's cool.
I think taking a walk outdoors opens up my mind. Taking a walk outdoors, I think opens up my mind to different ideas.
All right, so we're back, and Ashley, that was just a little sample of your creation. So to see the whole thing, visit the Michigan Festival of Sacred Music page, and I'm sure we'll be sharing a web address for that project and how to get there directly. So in addition to that, Ashley, where can people go to experience your newest recording, the People Are Fragile project?
Yeah, I have it right now on Bandcamp. That's the best place for people to go, or it's also on YouTube as well.
All right, thank you. Thanks so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before I start asking Betsy some questions?
Go right ahead. Ask.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Betsy, I know that you would like to share with us how you became involved in this project as a musician, as well as the coordinator and director of the Michigan Festival of Sacred Music.
Yeah, I wear many different hats, and sometimes I get confused as to which one I'm underneath at a particular time. And when we're thinking of projects to do with a festival, I'm looking out to other people and who we're going to reach out to and bring in. And actually, it was I was told in the fall that the board had voted to include me in the residence project and have me be one of the musicians creating music, which was really cool, and that was lots of fun to do. And then there was the decision to ask all the residence people again to do the music in place thing. So and I again appealed to the board and said, really, you want me again? And they said yes. So I always just kind of want to make it clear that I do try and keep those lines, though I am in a situation where I'm ready to jump in with a cello or a composition idea if I need to, if we're if we're needing that. But I'm just really thrilled to be involved with so many other really interesting musicians. The styles in these, all of these pieces for both projects are so different, and the people are so different, and how they approached it, and what locations they went to. A lot of variety. Though it is interesting to note that a number of people, did go to nature. We have the Kalamazoo River Walk. We have Kleinstuck. We have Asylum Lake Preserve, and that's 3 out of our 10 people. So,
That is interesting. Yeah, a lot of outdoor locations. Maybe that was on the brain this past year, those outdoor accessible places. And maybe that healing quality that nature has for all of us is much needed.
yeah.
But you didn't choose an outdoor location. You chose
Well,
Stetson Chapel. Can you tell us a little bit about that choice?
Well, I was looking for something that, I grew up in Kalamazoo. I went away when I went off to college, and I came back, quite recently, but I realize now it's 20 years ago. And so sort of reintegrating myself into the community that, much has changed, but much hadn't changed. Lots of people I knew from before were still here. And of course, the chapel, my father taught at Kalamazoo College. We lived a couple blocks away. I was one of those faculty brats who was underfoot for everybody, running around playing in the College Grove, playing around on the quad, climbing on whatever I could climb on. And the chapel was always there. I mean, I remember very, very young age, I was a page for some Bach festival event. And basically, I carried up a fake trumpet in a little velvet dress, pretended I played it, sat down at the top and fell asleep at the top, up on a chair at the top of the choir loft there, and fell asleep for the program. So, I just have this connection. I went to Kalamazoo College for a year and decided that I really wanted a more rigorous education in cello. So I transferred to Oberlin, but it was sort of always in the shadow of the chapel. I literally remember sitting in the chapel, in the balcony at chapel services. We used to have chapel events on Fridays, and wondering, should I really be doing this? Should I be leaving? And if I apply to Oberlin and I don't get in, then what the heck, So, and one of the connections then to Stetson Chapel for me was, I wanted to do something about the neighborhood and the college, and I gravitate to poetry. I've been talking with Susan Anthony, and I knew she was kind of going crazy in this shutdown, because of course singers were the most toxic. It's like the last thing you want is somebody to come and sing and just spew aerosols all over the place. So the idea of involving her, of course, then I wanted to find text, and I'd been working with poems by Conrad Hilberry forever, ever since I started studying text. And I was like, geez, he's got to have a poem about the chapel. He's got to have a poem about the bells. And I had to search that out. And it was a little bit of a conflict, probably like breezing through all kinds of questions I might have fed you to ask me, because it was really a bit of a conflict for me, because I left before the bells were installed. I mean, to me, the chapel is silent in my memory, and all this stuff happened right after I left Kalamazoo. And to be aware that had I stayed in town, I would have been there. I was a math major. I had learned change ringing on handbells. I would have been there with all the excitement of the bells going in, and I wasn't. And so, of course, I was a teenager, and it's like, I don't care. So I put the bells off and didn't fully appreciate how cool that was until really coming back to it. So in a way, it's almost like resolving that little conflict in my life, and realizing, really it's not all about me sometimes, and just appreciating the bells, and I was thrilled to be able to find a poem I could set to make that piece work.
How was the journey of finding that poem? Was it something you found easily, or?
No, it wasn't that easy. And luckily, I've worked with Khan's poems for a long time. I recorded him reading a lot of his poems. I've said a lot of his poems. I know his family. I delivered newspapers to him. And his daughter Jane is a poet. And I always kind of check with her, especially now that Khan is gone, saying, well, I'm going to do this. I just want to make sure I'm doing this. Though I always had his blessing, but I said, I know there's got to be a poem. There's no way he didn't write a poem about those bells. And I Googled it. I couldn't find it. I looked through stuff in the K College archives about the dedication. There was nothing there. I couldn't believe it. And so she said, yeah, there's a poem. And if you can't find it, it's on Carol Smith's wall in her dining room. And sure enough, I found her, Jeff Smith's widow, and Jeff was the math professor whose passion was the bells and who made that all happen. And I went over and got to see it on her wall, took a picture of it, and that was the text that then I used. And it was this beautiful, I believe it was handmade paper and calligraphy and artwork, and it's just a beautiful piece that she has that has this poem on it. So.
Wow, that's amazing. You found this sort of almost lost piece of art and revived it as song and gave it a new life. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say what a beautiful tribute to the poem, the place, and this time now that we're living in. I love that. Being a history nerd, I'm always living a little bit in the past and a little bit in the present, and then kind of looking forward to the future at the same time. And so I dug up a little history about Stetson as well. And the chapel itself was built in 1931, but as you mentioned, the bells were a later installment. They weren't actually installed until 1984. And the bells have, kind of a unique identity themselves. They're 8 English tower bells, and they're each inscribed with Lux Esto and the name of a major figure of the early college's history. So they wanted to make it sort of a tribute back to the history of the chapel itself. But you're not a bell ringer. You don't actually play bells, do you?
No, though I have been informed it's never too late to join the bell ringing club. So I may work my way in that direction. But one of the problems I have is being back and forth to Illinois in my normal life, which might return. It's hard for me to make a commitment, like if they always ring on such and such a night, I might not be around, week after week. So, so that it is something that it was funny. I'd run into Jeff back in like the 90s, and he'd say, Jeff Smith, and he'd tell me about, oh, well, you're University of Chicago. Well, they've got this great ring of bells and blah, 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 and talk to me all about it. It's like, I kind of know that, but I didn't go the bell route, so that's not my passion right now, but I do think it's very, very cool. And I hope I can reconnect with that in some way.
So instead of bells, though, you went with the cello. So, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Why the cello?
Yeah. Well, the cello is, I knew I needed something that I could put together somewhat easily. And of course, I'm a cellist. And I knew if I was going to do something that involved other people, I really better have a recording engineer. So I made sure that Brian Heaney was one of my 2 collaborators. And just to be clear about that, everybody in Music in Place was to collaborate with 2 other people to bring in something, bring in other people, and also maybe trickle out a little bit of the funds to give other people a little boost. And so I knew I'd need a recording engineer. I had poetry, so I could have a singer, and Susan was gracious enough to indulge me in this. And so then, of course, I need other music, and I had a looper that I had resolved I would learn during this lockdown. And so I did learn enough how to use it so I could give layers of my cello so we could rehearse. So it's basically for 3 cellos and soprano. And I was able to learn the looper well enough so we could actually rehearse with all 3 parts. And So that was just sort of my easiest go-to, because I was kind of always there. Plus, the piece is sort of about my mulling about whether I'm going to become a cellist or stay as a math major. So why not just be OD'd on cello sound? Because what sounds better after all?
I love that. I love that. That's what you were hearing at that time when you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
in that chapel. That's wonderful. Speaking of collaborators and working with musical collaborators, Ashley, can you tell us a little bit about who you chose to collaborate with for your piece?
Yes. So I chose Schroeder, who is a rapper and a beat maker, composer, arranger, producer. And then to put all of it together, I also chose a sound engineer, Cynthia Kelly, who's actually a great singer and songwriter, guitarist in her own right, but she was playing the role of the sound engineer on this one.
Fantastic. So although we have the 10 artists listed as the primary musicians for this project, there are actually 30. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, basically, and in some cases more. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I didn't know that about this project. Let's see, learn
Yeah,
new things all the time.
well, yeah, the Resonance Project, we just went to individuals and asked them to create, knowing that musicians had become extremely versatile if they hadn't been yet in creating their own pieces at home to share online or whatever during this time. But then we wanted to see if we could reach out a little bit more, provide some more funds and say, involve some other people, because it also opens up possibilities for the creator to say, okay, I can have a dancer, or I could have a poet, or I can have a videographer, or something like that, or other musicians, of course.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So Betsy, I believe we have a video for you as well.
Sort of. I'm actually one of the people who took a bunch of pictures that I hope to sort of animate into a walk around the chapel at some point. But right now we have a series of pictures that are on the website and not intended to be coordinated with the video, but or the music, but are obviously related to it. So,
Oh, fantastic.
so
Then
I
instead-
think, yeah, I think Eric will maybe course us through some of those while we listen to some of the piece.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay. All right, here goes.
All right. Well, again, to hear the whole thing, you're going to need to go visit the project. See, this is all a big tease, but you're going to be glad you did to see the other musicians work. So Betsy, is there anything else you would like to tell us about that piece you composed in particular?
Probably, I mean, I have probably the most extensive program notes of anybody there. So yeah, visit the website and read what everybody has to say. And yeah, just to make it clear that that was Susan D'Anthony singing the vocal lines. And yeah, visit the website, experience all this stuff, see all these great locations. And I think that's, you know, it was actually a really, to me, it feels like a very happy piece, or at least a contented piece. And some people have said to me, I don't know, it's kind of dark, but maybe that's because it starts and ends low on the cello. But I think that at least it felt good for me writing it and playing it, so that was fun. But I think, do we have any more questions to be asking Ashley about her project or her music?
I don't. I just have a few last kind of wrap-up questions, unless there's anything else you both would like to share with us.
Okay. Well, I would like to make sure that people realize that all of this stuff is very accessible online and in person, and including the Resonance Project still up there. A lot of stuff we've done this year is right out there on our website, and you can experience it again, or different locations. And the music in place, what's really been cool about this is we have so many connections. I mean, Kleinstuck, there's people who care about Kleinstuck, people who care about Asylum Lake. One of our, Helen Yee, did her piece based on the Bank Street Market, Farmers Market. And it's just incredibly timely because, she's sort of looking at the farmers market as, now what, she calls it before the after, knowing that it's going to be renovated and we are going to be back there at some point, but right now we aren't. And so it's very quiet, and she includes tango dancers in that, and it's just very, very effective piece. But everything's just so good in so many ways, and just such connection and pride in the community. I hope it gives us. There's just such a really wonderful locations that people found. But I'd also like to mention that we do have other things coming up this week for those of us who are listening. We do have our last live stream concert on Thursday at 7 o'clock. That's Arturo Zeraldo, joined by Carl Arantz and Carolyn Keeble. And that should be a very interesting program. And you can only listen to it then. That's not captured for all time. It's only at 7 o'clock. And we have migratory music on Sunday with 5 different area musical groups who represent music that has come to Kalamazoo. And you can go around the Arboretum at the Nature Center and hear this music as you wander in what I hope will be a beautiful day. And we have also music at the Dark Sky Park on June 11th with Dee Elder and Josh Holcomb at 8 o'clock. So just to plug all that stuff. And I see that our man behind the curtain here, Eric, has asked us, he's curious about Ashley's influences. So I don't know if that's just for the evening's wardrobe or your piece or music in general. So let's see, or your interior decorating, musical, okay.
Yeah, well, it's really strange because this is actually the first piece that I really didn't sing on. So, and singing and recording for 20 years, like this is the first thing that really I'm not singing on. And my influences are all singers. So it's kind of a weird thing, I guess. In this case, the influences are my children, and the way that they walk through the woods and that they interact with things is fascinating in its own way. And my 9-year-old who says, I think taking a walk outside opens up your mind to new ideas. I'm just like, Yeah, I think it does. But that was, that was really special. I think I'm mostly just a jazz singer. I'm very influenced by Joni Mitchell and Diane Reeves and Betty Carter, and way back when, Barbara Streisand. And then, I largely listen to pop music, which includes a lot of hip hop and stuff now. So that's kind of my affinity for beats and that type of thing is coming from there. So hopefully that solves the mystery. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Ashley. And for those who would like to learn more about this project, visit https://www.mfsm.us/music-in-place. And that'll bring it up. So that was www.mfsm.us/music-in-place.
Okay.
That'll be
Yeah,
it.
and I believe if you were to Google Connecting Chords Music Festival, you would probably get there as well. And I'm wondering if we might have time and our man behind the curtain could play. Yeah, ccmusicfest.com is much easier to say and comprehend and remember. So CC Music Fest, right? And maybe Eric, could you play for us that piece that Ashley referred to earlier first? I asked the ether. Ashley, you were talking about, oh shoot, the name of the other piece you were talking about recently
Um,
from your album?
from my album, yeah. We could do Recall is one of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and Eric will let us know if he's got it playing and we can stop talking. Okay. So let's hear it.
All right, so thank you for joining us. And again, you don't need to use that really long web address I gave you. Instead, use ccmusicfest.com.
And you can look for both music in place buttons and also resonance project to hear the works that we've been talking about tonight.
So thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Elizabeth Start. Thank you, Eric, man behind the curtain.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for being here. And thanks everybody for watching.